Minister.
Thank you, Mr Chair. It's an enormous privilege to live in a country like New Zealand, which has such a magnificent natural environment. And all Kiwis have special places that they enjoy. We have magnificent birds, trees, rivers, lakes. And we're privileged, I think, to have such easy access to these magnificent places. A third of New Zealand is in public ownership, known as the conservation estate. And I think I'd like to spend a few moments just to reflect on the good work that DOC's doing, looking after that conservation estate. Those national parks, our regional parks, our reserves, our lakesides, our river beds are something that the world is enormously envious of, and thousands of local New Zealanders, tourists and travellers come here to explore and enjoy them. I think DOC has been doing a particularly interesting work in terms of our native birds. They say that if you want to be a conservationist in New Zealand, you need to be a killer, and you need to be a very keen killer, because our predators, our rats, mice, stoats, possums and feral cats, all those imported animals that have come to New Zealand prey on our special birds, and unless we kill them, we're going to lead the birds themselves. And I think the key issue here is our birds are particularly vulnerable to these pests because they evolved without these animals in our country. Fortunately, Kiwis as New Zealanders love our birds, and we've got thousands of New Zealanders that go out, help in that conservation work. We've got businesses and organisations who are keen to be part of that conservation. Organisations such as Kiwi for Kiwis has done magnificent work in terms of tuning up the numbers of Kiwis being born and looking after them once they have been born. In the wild, 90% of Kiwi chicks are killed by predators, but if we look after them properly, up to 80% of them can fledge and have an opportunity to live in the wild again. We've just had the most successful breeding season for kakapo. Kakapo now are breeding this year in 3 different sanctuaries around New Zealand, and we're thinking that we might have up until 40 new chicks, which makes an enormous difference to this small population. On top of that, Whio, the blue duck, they've doubled in number since 2011. We now have more than 600 birds, and we believe that they are back from the brink of extinction. And I think we can celebrate the fact that ordinary New Zealanders have the opportunity to see such unique birds such as takahi, kaka, kia, mohua, rock wrens, tui, kiraru, you name them, many, many, many more. New Zealand is so fortunate with the birds that we have. We're also a mecca for seabirds and migratory birds. And I just spent some time at Pukurakura, Miranda, where DOC was signing a memorandum of understanding with the Chinese government, and this is to protect the godwits and the red knots, which have come all the way from Siberia in the Arctic Circle. They fly via China all the way to the Coromandel Peninsula. And it's wonderful the fact that Chinese government is prepared to work with New Zealanders to protect their environment on the way and their habitat so that they actually can complete that journey. While I was there, I had a particularly fortunate experience to see 2,000 wrybill birds. Now, a wrybill is a bird that is unique to the Canterbury area for breeding. It breeds on our braided rivers, and if you're fortunate and you go out there with a bird watcher, you might see 1 or 2 on the braided rivers. They breed there, but then they go to the Coromandel during the summer, and they go in large flocks, and I saw over 2,000 of those wrybills. Wrybill is unique because it's the only bird in the world that has a beak that has turns or bends its wry at the end, and it uses it to look for grubs and things under the stones in the braided rivers. So I just like to make the point that DOC is doing a very good job in partnership with numerous people to protect these special species and to make New Zealand the country that it is, and to reflect on our natural environment. Kia ora.
Clayton.